Africa. Even the name is exotic and wild. Vast herds on the Serengeti and the Ngorongoro. That may, to some extent, still exist. But East Central Africa is largely game preserves. Art tourist attraction, art sanctuaries for the game left. Much of it is now farmland. This vast continent with its 11.7 million square miles ranges from the searing heat of the Sahara Desert to the tropical rainforests. I'm Cliff Brock. Join me as we discover the animals of the great KwaZulu-Natal, home of King Shaka in East Central Africa. The king is immortalized in James Michener's book, The Covenant. When 6 of us, Ernie Calquette, Olga Clayton, Ron Haddad, Patricia Haddad, Mid Brock and I, got the opportunity to visit, see, and learn about Africa, we jumped at it. Took nearly 3 years for the trip to come together, COVID and all, but come together it did. The owners of the preserve, the Burns family, allowed 2 reschedules, and in February 2023, we got started. We were ready for the 18-hour plane flight. We arrived in Durban, and after a long 2-hour drive from Durban, Ernie and Olga, Mid and I were at the preserve. Crew made the long drive up a gravel road to the preserve. Arrival felt as though we were coming home. Sianda helped us to reception for check-in. Check-in was a snap with desk clerk Coimba, and Ernie, Olga, Mid and I were ready, checked in, and ready for a game drive. Ron and Patricia didn't get in until later that night since they were delayed in Doha. But once we were all together, we started to stack up the animal sightings. The first game drive saw giraffes, wildebeest, and rhinos on the 2,700-hectare preserve. The first 2 were so common, several of us stopped taking giraffe pictures. Our view was always excellent from our Land Cruiser, purpose-built for game drives. In the entire week, we only had 1 drive that was cold, wet, and miserable. The day had been warm and sunny, but then clouds rolled in and brought cold rain. Few of us dressed for that, and we all nearly froze. We began to wonder if our goal of spotting the Big 5, that is, lions, Cape buffalo, hippopotamuses, elephants, and lions. Probably none of us thought we would see the Big 5 and multitudes of other species, especially in such great numbers. Zulu-Nyala boasts some 40 species in the preserve. We were in a land of preserves, not on the Serengeti, and especially not during the season of great migrations. But our guide Sia was not to be deterred. He'd been at this a long time. Maybe the best part of the drives was Sia, a Zulu native and 16-year guide with a quick wit and deep knowledge. One of our big fears was that we would not be able to get all of the Big 5. Fortunately, we visited another game ranch, and Michaela, the guide, was super in helping us find the lion that we so much wanted to see. You've been asked the question. You seem very knowledgeable about the biology and the animals. Is that university training, or did you just learn it?
It's not like a proper university, but it's a college. So there's probably about 12 or so colleges within Southern Africa that you can go to, and you study specifically just to become a guide. So all the qualifications, all the knowledge, stones, trees, twigs, clouds, rain, birds, everything.
Kayla's task was to find a lion. We'd tried for several days in her preserve and in the preserve that we stayed at, and no lions. She did not disappoint. She found us the big boy of the herd, the pride's leader. And boy, did he not disappoint. In fact, when he roared, you could feel it in your bones. Back at Zulu-Nyala, we were on a game drive looking for the Cape buffalo. They don't say much, but they are a very taciturn animal and quite dangerous in the wild. We were fortunate we were able to see quite a group of them, in fact a whole herd, and we even saw a little one who had only been born hours earlier. That was quite a treat. I have no idea how many we saw, 30 or 40 or something, but they were a sight to behold. The baby Cape buffalo was a delight, but we really wanted to get after a closer view of the hippopotamus. These big creatures are a sight. To do that, we had to get back into hippo territory, which means we had to ford the river a couple of times actually, in order to go and get on the wet side where we'd be able to find the hippopotamus. These animals are dangerous. One time I read that actually hippos kill more people in Africa than poisonous snakes do. But they're a reclusive animal. Their legs are not hollow the way normal legs are. Their legs are actually solid bone, and that allows them to walk on the bottom. So a hippo can't swim. If for some reason he can't walk on the bottom, he will drown. But they walk on the bottom and feed. They're vegetarians. The fish love them because the hippo waste is very high in nutrients, and the fish follow them and actually clean up the hippo nutrients. This boy was not too friendly, but he was certainly magnificent to look at. Another vegetarian at Zulu Nyala is the rhinoceros. Zulu Nyala has both black and white rhinoceros at the preserve. They won't tell us how many there are because they have such a terrible problem with poachers coming in and cutting the horn off, killing the animal, and that's a loss to the entire world. The preserve actually has guard towers, and they have a whole force of night watchmen. You could see them all over during the daytime in their blue uniforms that stay in the watchtowers, drive the preserve, looking actually to prevent poachers on the preserve from killing the rhinoceros. Big boy. As he left our field of view, he did make one last editorial comment, spraying a bush as he walked out. We're not sure whether it was to mark his territory in case any other rhinoceros came along, or to give an editorial opinion to us as we sat there looking at him. We had some wonderful meals while we were at Zulu Nyala, but the hippos and the rhinos were not the only vegetarians. Our resident vegetarian was Patricia Haddad, and she spoke about the meals there.
Because I was hoping to be able to eat some vegetarian food, and in fact, at every meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, there is a combination for vegetarian and carnivore.
Our New York girl was completely taken by the animals. I think Olga really got a kick out of just seeing these monsters out in the wild, and she'll tell us about it. You mentioned the animals. Talk to us a little bit about the animals. Which animals were your favorites? What did they do that delighted you the most?
The elephants walking down the road and then gathering together. They gathered in a huddle like we do when we hug one another. It was fantastic.
Well, if Olga was captivated by these behemoths walking down the street, fellow New Yorker Ron Haddad had a much different take on them. Ron, tell us about that.
In terms of muscle, definitely the elephant.
And boy, do they have muscle. One of the biggest surprises came when this big girl came over and charged the Land Rover. She was curious, and we kind of think maybe she was intrigued by Cassandra's cologne, and she wanted to investigate. The elephant is king of strength, but the queen of grace has to be the giraffe. Ron and Olga both had a soft spot in their heart for the behemoths. But that wasn't the only one that Ron was drawn to. He also liked the loping elegance of that tall animal, the top of the tree muncher, the giraffe. What's been your favorite animal?
I think my favorite animal, in terms of loveliness, would be the giraffe.
And lovely they are. Giraffes are the tallest mammals on Earth. Those puppies get up to 19 feet. They live in herds of up to 50 individuals, and that's kind of the way they live in Zulu Nyala. Interestingly, they give birth standing up, which when you're 19 feet tall is not a bad trick to do. I was probably born a couple of days ago. But as you can see, he's already moving up and about. He wants to stay close to Mama. He knows where she is, but he's kind of operating on his own. He's a childbirth. Little giraffes are 6 feet tall. They can run within minutes of being born. They live about 25 years. Some interesting facts about giraffes. They have tongues that are 20 inches long. They can run 35 miles an hour. They have a heart that weighs 22 pounds. Speaking of heart, I think Ernie may have lost his to all the animals. He really has an appreciation across the board of all of them. What animal delighted you the most?
Well, that's rather difficult to say because I think all of the animals that we saw were just fantastic. I particularly like the zebras. I like the giraffes, the elephants, the servals, was it? The leopards, the hippopotamus that we saw out in the water, the rhinoceros. All of them were just fantastic.
One of the cats that really captured Ernie was this little serval. We were headed back to the lodge after a game drive, and we're driving up one of the roads, and this little guy came wandering up the street. Servals are a medium-sized cat, but look how long his legs are, how big his ears are, and that beautiful spotted coat. These little guys live on small birds, mammals, and reptiles. They are beautiful. Another herbivore, they're very social and live in groups of up to 100 individuals. They usually eat grasses, leaves, and fruits. They are a favorite on the diet of lions, leopards, and hyenas.
And we also went on a wonderful cheetah tour, and I was very impressed with those guys as well. So.
One of the highlights of our visit was the Ennemane Cat Preserve. We got a chance to be up close with the beautiful, beautiful cheetahs. This guy that we're all posing with even allowed the caretaker to pull his tail, and he simply wasn't bothered by it. One of the least appreciated animals in the preserve are the wildebeests. These slow, stiff-legged runners are all over. They're social. They live in herds, sometimes up to 1 million on the Serengeti. Life is astounding. From the baby-faced impala running in their herds, to the kudu with their regal stances on the hillside. They're stern, but they're still a vibrant animal with their curly horns. And then we move to the tail flickers, some of our very favorite animals in their herds, just bouncing along as though they're having a great time in the jungle. The Nyala, on the other hand, are a very different breed altogether. They're regal animals with their curled horns, waiting for the carnivores, unfortunately. This little guy I called Colonel Warthog. He is just such a nice little guy with his mustache made out of his curled horns. The wildlife was ours to behold. But the Great Africa adventure did not stop there. The 6 of us headed to Cape Town and met with the District 6950 Global Scholar, Abby Blocker. What a great young woman. Well, Abby, you're the District 6950 Global Scholar. Tell us about your studies and where you're going to school.
So I'm attending the University of Cape Town here in Cape Town, South Africa, and I'm studying biomedical engineering. I'm doing my master's degree, and then after that I hope to do my PhD.
It's like to live in Cape Town as a year-round resident.
It's very interesting, as we've learned. You do get all 4 seasons in one day.
Tell us what it's like when you're not reading books and listening to lectures and taking tests. What do you do in Cape Town?
I really like going out into nature. So I enjoy Kirstenbosch, which is where we are, which is a botanical garden. I really like going to the beach. The beaches here are nice. The water is cold, but it's nice. It reminds me of home a bit. and I like spending time with my friends. I like doing some volunteering. I do volunteer with Rotary and also with my department at UCT.
Tell us a little bit about the Claremont Rotary Club and your interaction and that sort of thing.
So the Claremont Rotary Club is my host club here. They're in a suburb which is right by where I live, in the suburb of Claremont, and they've been nothing but welcoming to me here. I've had such an amazing experience with the members of the Rotary Club of Claremont. My host family is from the Rotary Club of Claremont, and they've welcomed me into their home and their family and really their life, and I've gotten adventures that they do to try to support their community, which I really appreciate.
Tell us a little bit about your host family.
So my host family is just amazing, for lack of a better word. They have really welcomed me into their space and their family. So I have a host mom, Jo, and host dad, Julian, and then two host sisters, Emily and Nick, and they're right around my age, which is very, very good just to meet friends and people and learn about Cape Town.
Let's talk a little bit about the scholarship itself. I understand it's 4 years, and the amount of the scholarship's about $100,000. What impact has this scholarship had on your academic studies?
I mean, it's been nothing short of revolutionary. I have been able to have this whole experience through the Rotary International Grant, and so it has provided me the opportunity to travel to South Africa, to be able to sustain myself here, to complete my studies. It's basically enabled my whole life and lifestyle here, and I'm very appreciative of that opportunity, because without the grant I wouldn't have been able to have this experience in my life and make the friends that I have and learn the lessons that I've been able to learn here from this culture. And it was so empowering and just life-changing.
So I am Abby's counsellor or host mom. Abby, I think, has been to almost every Rotary meeting, whether they've been on Zoom or in person. So she's not one of the students who just does the student stuff. She's almost become a Rotarian herself, in that she's just been so involved in the Rotary Club. Whenever we have an event, Abby's there, whether it's packing food or getting together for a braai, or just a general Rotary meeting. Abby is always there. So it's given us a lovely opportunity to get to know Abby, both from my point of view and also the other Rotarians. As much as she's young and shy, she always makes an effort to connect with people. And I think so Abby is, I wouldn't want to even say introverted. She's shy, but she's confident, very smart, and able to just do a little bit of everything. So she's related very well to both the young and the older members. We've got a very diverse club, from 80-year-olds to 25, 30-year-olds. And I think Abby's able to relate to everybody. And I think it's because she's there, she's present, she's interested, she's happy to get involved. When we ask her to speak about something, she's there. She's already done her formal talk to us as a club, where she's spoken about the degree that she's doing and about her thesis.
Amy Blocker, District 6950 Global Scholar. An outstanding young woman, an outstanding student, and certainly will be a credit to Rotary and District 6950, and by the way, the Rotary Club of Inverness. What an outstanding young woman.